an artist, especially a young artist, I think we've all dreamed with being a part of something larger than us. Of, for example, maybe being in a show, maybe being someone important in the development process of something, or in this case, being a part of game development. And this story in particular happened at that moment in my life when I wanted to be a little bit more than what I was, and I wanted to join other projects. Except that I didn't know the value of my work, and this is a story about that. But before that, let me introduce myself. Hello, I am Sophie Stardrop. I'm happy to see you again, or in case you're new, I'm happy you decided to be around here. So I'll be honest, I do not remember how old I was when this happened. I know that I was a minor, probably around the ages of 15, maybe, I don't know, maybe 14, 15, around those years. Again, I don't remember clearly. It's not that important. However, I do want to establish a little bit of like a timeline. So I've always liked game development. I've always wanted to be a part of something that I consider beautiful. I consider game development and games themselves as a form of art, a form that is a lot of the times not really appreciated for what it is. And in my case, I've always seen it for the side of art. I'm an artist. I remember that when I was a kid, I tried to join a lot of spaces that had game developers in them. Mostly I wanted to learn and I wanted to open commissions or just join a couple of projects. Well, I did join a couple of projects and I do want to share those experiences later. Right now, I just want to talk about this experience in particular because it is kind of funny. So, I remember that when I was younger, I started to practice a lot of different areas surrounding game development. I've always been in love with it, and some of the areas were, for example, music composing, animation, art, character rigging, programming, and a bunch more of other stuff, background work too. Sadly, I did try to get to other people, but they didn't believe that I could do all the stuff that I could do, and it did lead to, people misjudging me. Overall, I was a kid in a space that was mostly for adults, so you can guess that it wasn't exactly a very good experience. However, I did manage to find a couple of projects that wanted me in. One of these projects was about an MMORPG. I know that probably sounds like a commercial, but it was an MMORPG. It was a 2D online type of thing, and the developers had a very clear idea of what they wanted the game to be. They wanted the game to be a little bit like Dofus. I don't know if you've ever played or heard the game. Maybe I am too old. The sibling game is Wakfu, in case you've maybe heard of it. They wanted to create something like that because that game was insanely popular back at the day. So they wanted to have customization, they wanted to have different types of weapons, different kinds of armor, and it was overall a very ambitious project, even if they tried to keep it down. Now, I don't remember exactly how I got into a project. I know that one of the developers talked to me, but I don't remember exactly the step-by-step thing on how I got in. But I do know that at some point I got into a WhatsApp group with other people who were also working in the game. I don't know why, but somehow I managed to talk to the developers enough that they joined me in their personal WhatsApp group. I don't know. I remember that they shared a Google Drive. In fact, I do have access to the Google Drive to this day. I couldn't believe it once I found it. I was like, oh my god, I had no idea I had access to this. But yeah, I have access to it. They didn't really have much. They did have a little bit of a planning. They had a document with all of the stuff they wanted. They had a roadmap. And to some extent, I do want to use some of those things as like inspiration for organization, mostly. I couldn't really get much out of it. And if anything, I've gotten more out of, public stuff that you can find. In case that you want to find, for example, game Bibles, there's a lot of them publicly, and I would recommend you try to search those ones as examples. But, this is something that I personally wanted to check out, and Inside this folder, I actually found a lot of stuff that I created for the game that I didn't remember. I'm not exactly sure if I should share it, mostly because I want all of these stories to be mostly anonymous. However, I do have examples of my work. I'm not going to share them right now. I don't feel comfortable sharing them, but I do have them, which is funny. I remember that around this time I had a program called SpritePro. This is a program that I'm actually going to name because I used it to create twinning animations. I used it to create the skeletons of several sprites, and as such I managed to do twinning using said skeletons with bones to create walk cycles. Now keep in mind, I was a child back at the day. My art style was not that good, but I tried to imitate the style of the game as much as I could. Surprisingly, I've always been better at animation than drawing. I don't know why, but that's always been like a thing of mine. These people in particular, they wanted me to animate a character. It looked like an old dude with white hair, and they wanted me to draw him with like underpants and with an armor. So I'm guessing they wanted to have multiple set of armor pieces and they wanted to start slow. On top of that, they wanted me to animate all of these things in the 4 directions. So up, down, left, and right for both the naked body pieces and the armor pieces. On top of that, which is technically 8 pieces of animation, they also wanted me to animate special effects for the character. So these characters were supposed to have powers. I was in charge of something like a magician, I think, or a wizard. The effects themselves were rather simple and only lasted a couple of seconds. I remember the one that was probably the hardest to animate was something like lighting with like a sphere of energy. So the sphere was supposed to get bigger, then once it was big enough, it was supposed to throw this lighting to the floor, and then the lighting should disappear in a natural wave and the sphere itself should grow smaller. Maybe everything that I'm describing is not making any sense. The animation itself was like 7-8 frames, unique drawings, so the animation could look smooth. I didn't know if I could do it. However, I do look at the final product nowadays and I think it was very cute. I think that I actually did a very good job considering that was the very first time that I was animating effects. And I have considered adding it to my portfolio as a way to, showcase my art. Then again, I'm not exactly sure if I want these art pieces to be public. I don't want people trying to find this project. It's a part of my past. But I have been thinking on using that particular effect on my portfolio. It's quite impressive. Like, I know it might sound like I'm just throwing myself with flowers, but it was quite impressive for being a frame-by-frame animation. It wasn't the only animation, but it was the one that I personally like to animate the most. I enjoy challenges. And yeah, all of them about 8 drawings each. Some of them had lesser drawings, like 5 or so, but they still took effort. I still had to put them in this like very specific order so the program could read it. I don't remember which program they were using. However, I do know that they needed it in a sprite sheet. Now, if you don't know what a sprite sheet is, it's like a bunch of drawings placed in a very specific size canvas just so the program can read it. It's more complicated. It has index. It's programming stuff. I don't know how to explain it. I know what it is, but I don't know how to explain it. But the point is that I had to do that. And on top of that, I also had to animate a little slime enemy kind of thing. Now, mind you, I also had to draw all of these things. So for the skeleton animation, I had to draw each part of the body separated, and I had to work on it while I was also attending school. So, as you can imagine, such a large project took several months to complete. Again, I was a child, and in case you don't know, I'm actually a Chilean. I'm a Chilean person, I'm a Chilean Latina. And in Chile, we go from 8 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So I went to school all day just to then have a small chance at the end of the day to just work on this game project, which, by the way, it was a commission. So technically speaking, this was probably one of, if not the first commission I ever had. Again, I don't remember exactly, but I was very excited about this project. Now, I didn't know how much to charge, and back in the day, I felt like I was just a bother by existence, so I didn't really ask too much about it. On top of that, it was very clear that the game directors and developers were constantly having fights inside the WhatsApp group, and they were constantly like arguing, and I was like, I don't know, I was like a child in the middle of two adults or three, I don't remember, just arguing about stuff I wasn't exactly sure about, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back into my business. I'm gonna go back to do art. Goodbye. But yeah, I did had a lot of pressure from the developers to make this project, and once I finished it, I delivered everything they asked me for. I delivered an enemy slime that was drawn and animated in all four directions, down, up, left, right. I animated a protagonist character in, again, the four directions, up, down, left, right, and the armor piece, again, four directions, so technically 8. On top of animating 4 different, unique, frame-by-frame animations for visual effects. And on top of that, I was constantly getting pressure into getting it sooner. So, my dear people, how much do you think they paid me for all of this? Just how much? Try to guess in the comment section. Did you guess it? $60. Which, as you can guess, it wasn't a lot for the amount of work I put in. It took me months to do all of that. It just wasn't worth it. But I was a child, I didn't know any better. So I just took it. What sucks is that I checked the Google Drive, since, again, remember how I mentioned that I still had access to it somehow? They actually had, in a document, planned to pay me more. They planned to pay me over I think that over $200. But the developers, at least the very least, the guy that I was talking to decided to pay me way less, saying that, oh, we're just a poor, thing. We don't have that money right now. That's so bad. Can't you just charge less for all this work? Besides, you took so long to make it, so yeah, we don't have that money. But I have 60, so I hope that works. Yep. I was a very naive child, and the worst part is that I didn't even realize this was bad until several years later when I actually learned what the meaning of money is. God damn. But yeah. Lesson of the story, first of all, if you're a child, don't mess in adult spaces. I know that's very difficult nowadays on the internet. Trust me, I know. But I do think you should try to learn as much as you can from those experiences. Like, if you already had them, at least try to learn a couple of things from them. If you cannot change them, then at the very least, you should do something with those experiences. And if you've not opened commissions yet, I would recommend to check how much are your peers charging. Don't feel bad for charging. You're like, if you're a minor, you still have time to figure things out. So don't worry. For now, just practice. Do your own stuff. Use your free time however you wish. The best things you'll do are the things that you made with passion. That's something I had to learn the hard way. Outside of that, just have fun with your art. That's like the best advice I can give. Have fun with your art and explore what you like, who you are, and how you want to share that through your craft. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this tiny little experience video, this storytime video, and see you in the next one. Goodbye!